What's going on, guys? Brocco here with Uncharted Territory. I'm back with another post-market recap video. It is December 1st, 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time. We got about 15 minutes until the close. Probably going to be a pretty short video today. It was a pretty quiet day in the markets. We had a little bit of a gap down this morning. Index is still set to close red. One nice sign this morning was to see the NASDAQ and semis sort of leading the way off the gap down. Didn't really get much follow through off the gap down this morning. SMH semiconductor ETF did end up going green and looking like it's going to close green on the day. NASDAQ did fill the gap, but has since pulled back and set to close, sort of mid-range. S&P, IWM, Dow, a little weaker on the day. And obviously crypto led the way down at, futures open last night. IBET down 6% on the day. ETHA down 9.5%. So a little heaviness in crypto. Indexes, a little bit of an indecision day. Like I said, it was nice to see us not follow through right off that gap down, but not the greatest close. Potentially, a little bit of a signal that the market wants to pull back or consolidate a little bit more. These gap downs within an uptrend, I'm viewing us in a daily uptrend. We have not technically made a higher high on the S&P yet, but we did hold this weekly uptrend 2 weeks ago. We held the 20-week, and we're above all the moving averages on the daily. And, after this rally, I think we're in the start of a new uptrend, maybe still in that kind of consolidation basing phase, but I wouldn't say we're in a downtrend right now personally. But when you get a powerful thrust like this off the lows, 5 consecutive days, these gap downs, even if the market doesn't follow through higher off the gap down, can be a really good indicator as to, what some of the strongest stocks out there are, right? Sort of like a stress test. The best names are obviously going to get bought up the fastest and maintain those moves by the end of the day, even if the indexes even just bounce a little bit and end up pulling back or not really going anywhere. Scotland on Twitter actually had a great quote one time. He had posted a tweet. I think this was several months ago, but he talked about how relative strength is not just how well a stock holds up while the indexes go down or the broad market goes down, but also a stock's ability to move quickly off of support. Right. So days like today can be really good for identifying some of those names where you get a gap down on the indexes. NASDAQ, fills the gap, pulls back a little bit. What names move the strongest as they, gap down into support or off those pivots. Right. So, a few of those names today. Reddit, first of all, was, a big one talked about in our group today. TSDR has a position in this. I know he added more today. Had the inside bar breakout today. Really strong action on the opening range highs, and then just kind of trended all day. Set to close, within, near the highs while the index is pulled back, which is nice to see. Up 3.5% on the day. So one example there of a stock moving really quickly off the gap down and maintaining that strength throughout the day. So really nice action on this Reddit. Unity this morning was another one. Sold off at the open turn and had a really nice push in the morning. Pulling back a little bit, but, big weekly base here. This thing's actually held up surprisingly well. Not a name I could see myself, gaining a ton of conviction in, but you can't argue the action the last couple of weeks and how well this has kind of maintained its base as the indexes have corrected. MBIS, another one, just gap down, broke the opening range highs and trended all day. Great example of this. Big wedge pop today on the daily, getting through the 20 MA, right through $100, set to close above it. Really nice action, getting some decent volume today, up 6.5% on the day. So another one came into this big gap from that multi-billion-dollar AI infrastructure deal with Microsoft. Kind of consolidated there, held the anchored VWAP from the extension low down here, and just perfect kind of volatility contraction below the MAs and bullish engulfing candle on the wedge pop today. Really nice to see that. APP, another one as well, really similar kind of candle to MBIS today. Took out this 600 spot in this 50-day moving average. One of those prior leaders that's, I kind of group in that same basket with like PLTR and Hood as far as, what peers it kind of trended with in the last cycle. And APP certainly looking the strongest right now. A-Lab, another one. This was really strong in the morning. Just another example of a stock moving quickly off a pivot, versus the indexes and actually following through. It's actually made a 13% intraday move, came up into a declining 50-day moving average. So might need a little bit of time here, but another one that, came into this, one of these big open gaps from back here, actually filled it and, has since curled off and wedge popped through the moving averages. Baba as well. This was a name I was actually had on my watch list into today. Didn't end up getting a piece of it, but they sold off on this earnings report on Tuesday last week, undercut on Wednesday and got bought up. Tight inside day on Friday, and then a little wedge pop today. That's some nice action. This has traded some elevated volume the last 2 weeks and hasn't really gone anywhere. To me, this looks like accumulation. We'll have to see, but this is some really nice action. Weekly chart just looks phenomenal. Undercut this previous low from October and held the 20-week, and now curling back up. So a name I'll definitely be keeping an eye on the next couple of days. RKT was mentioned as well. Big move with the market, and then just bullish engulfs today. More of a late day rally off the VWAP on this one, but getting some pretty nice volume into the close. So yeah, that was some of the names today. Manrav in our Discord absolutely crushed this A-Lab. I think he alerted it right out of the gate today as soon as it went red to green, maybe even earlier, to be honest. But he's a sniper when it comes to some ideas like this. And so yeah, that was nice to see today. TE is another one. Oh God, if there was one name I could maybe try to find a way in or want to be in right now, it'd be this one. Just phenomenal kind of, tennis ball action off the lows. 85% move in 6 days. This weekly chart just looks phenomenal. I mean, undercut the top of the base, held the 20-week, massive volume coming up the right side. So this will definitely be one to keep an eye on. It's building out this big pattern, came into this previous high. Hopefully it can kind of hang out here and just chill for a little bit. Trading some pretty big volume today. 180% of its average 50-day volume. So if this can kind of handle out here and give some tight action, this could be one in the focus list for sure. XHB Home Builders pulling back a little bit since the close, but this was kind of a group we discussed this morning in the pre-market to watch going forward. This XHB, the Home Builders ETF, has got this big weekly base. We saw some of these rate sensitive groups perform really well the last week or two. Big undercut, reclaimed. So far inside week, we'll see how this plays out. But big weekly base here, big sort of, if you want to call it a cup and handle type pattern. Monthly chart just looks phenomenal. You got this kind of cross back look on the monthly. Love these like kind of multi-candle patterns right here. So if this can push out and take last month's high out, this could be a potential idea. LEN Lennar, TSDR was talking about this one. A lot of volume recently. Not sure what this is about, but could be another one to pay attention to. TOL as well. Just looks really great. Took out this downtrend line, holding up really well today. Another kind of big weekly cup and handle look as well. Nail obviously could be a good vehicle if looking to just trade them and not really want to be a stock picker. This is the 3X leveraged home builders ETF. Had a few people ask me about silver as like a potential mean reversion or parabolic short today. Just insane move on this last week. I missed a few days last week because I was visiting family. When I came back and scanned this weekend, this was probably one of the moves I was most impressed by last week. This silver futures just on a 3.5 day short week to make a move like that. That's just insane. It's got these consecutive breakaway gaps. Obviously, SLV is going to have some more gaps than an ordinary stock because it's a, product that just, represents the futures. So, it just broke out yesterday, really. It came out of a beautiful kind of cup and handle VCP type setup. Day one yesterday, day two today. There's no short setup here. I mean, it could eventually, but silver actually just broke out. I actually posted this in the Discord today. I don't have it up right now, but silver actually just broke out of like a 40-year base. So wouldn't underestimate something like this, especially with how strong this group has been all year. My scans are just filled with gold and silver miners. So not really an area I'm focused on shorting or getting involved with right now. Doesn't mean it can't set up, but it's just not there right now. And I think there's better opportunities and places to focus out there right now. XBI cooled off a little bit today. This has been one of the leading groups, down 2.8% on the day, set to close the lows of the day. Just wanted to point this out. I thought it was interesting. This has like literally been one of the strongest groups since the April lows. XBI's up 90% from the lows. Got a little bit extended last week and cooling off a little bit today. So we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, Bitcoin, Ethereum, still in higher low territory. We haven't taken out those lows from 2 Fridays ago where IBIT saw all that heavy volume. Actually, interesting divergence. MSTR ended up making new lows today and has rallied back about 10% off low a day and set to close the highs of the day. I made a tweet about this because I saw, Short Bear constantly discussing this idea, and it's actually going to do its highest volume of the entire year today. Which I think is really interesting. $6.5 billion in dollar volume, almost 40 million shares on the day, and rallying pretty hard into the close. I think this could be something to pay attention to. These oversold bounce ideas are really difficult. They're not easy, especially when you don't have a clear kind of parabolic capitulation setup, right? This like just broke a little mini kind of 4-day consolidation to the downside and got bought up. So unless you have some like underlying fundamental conviction there, not the easiest setup to trade. I don't have a position, but it is something I'm monitoring and something I think is really interesting. The fact that MSTR couldn't make new lows, it reclaimed, as well as Bitcoin in a higher low territory. If Bitcoin can higher low here, could see something going happen here. So maybe just as like a general health gauge for the market, right? Market's been pretty correlated to these recent, this recent Bitcoin volatility. So to see this stabilize and even MSTR put in some capitulation volume and fail to go lower, I think is a pretty good start. So yeah, that's pretty much it today. I saw a few names that look interesting today. After a 5-day rally off the lows, up into a bearish gap, a lot of short-term breath oscillators really overbought. Kind of made sense for me to just sit tight and wait for some better opportunities where I can find some things with a clear area to risk off of versus chasing a rally like this. There is potential for a lockout kind of rally. I thought that was going to be the case today when we started to rally off the open, but we pulled back a little bit. You just got to be careful at spots like this when we kind of float up like this up into some resistance. Market might on occasion lock out and not give you an entry, but most of the time you'll at least get a couple days of some consolidation to get back involved. I'm actually hoping that we pull back a little deeper on the Qs and maybe put in a higher low and pull back enough to where some people get a little bit uncomfortable, right? Some of those shakeouts can be some of the best areas to turn really hard. But we actually discussed this example today of when the market kind of rallied off the lows in early January, and then DeepSeek ended up happening, and obviously that was like a black swan kind of event. But the idea is that chasing these moves out of just FOMO and wanting to get exposure can be pretty dangerous, because you get one day like that and you size a little too heavy, you can get crushed. So just be patient, right? You know what your setups look like. Kind of wait for them to come to you. You don't need to force anything right now. I'm all cash right now, looking to get some good trades on soon, get involved. I'm pretty optimistic right now with what I'm seeing. So we'll see how the next few days play out, depending on where we open or how we look tomorrow. I have a feeling there still may not be much to do tomorrow. I still don't see enough setups really fully ready yet for me. So, market doesn't care what I have to think, but that's just where I'm at right now. So, market's closed. That's your post-market recap video today. Just kind of discuss some of the things I found notable today. Obviously might miss a few things, but this is just notes that I take throughout the day that I want to keep track of and feel, I want to mention on the post-market video. So, that's it for today. Hope everyone has a great rest of the week. And I'll see you guys Tuesday at the close with another post-market recap video.